the game, chitaPrime has 3 stalkers. Kind of interesting. I mean, the good news is that his opponent only has 4 Zerglings and an Overseer as well. So both players kind of just turtling in a little bit and gonna get their macro going. Maybe they, gonna see some. I assume there are going to be some pretty epic battles if they're just gonna turtle in like this and just macro up like crazy. chitaPrime throwing on a few cannons in case his opponent decided to go mutiling, and instead I think Gundam's just going to focus on getting just a massive army of Hydras and potentially Roaches as well. It really should take out this cannon. I'm surprised that Cheetah hasn't really warped in any units here. He could start poking and doing some harass on these units, but GundamWerRa seems like he's ahead, and now spreading that creep just pretty much all over the map. And one of the great things about Zerg and Starcraft 2 is the ability to spread this creep, and going to be just setting up this huge wall of spine crawlers here too. And finally now, Gundam knows that these cannons are here, wants to take them out as much as possible. Not really microing these units too well. He could be trying to draw these back right now, but doesn't really matter. He just wants to take out that pylon. Once that pylon goes down, it's pretty much game. Meanwhile, it looks like Cheetah has massed up a sufficient amount of stalkers and wants to move out. That is all he has. He has 16 stalkers, and we'll see whether or not his micro of these stalkers is going to be enough to take down the army of spine crawlers, along with pretty much like a small contingent of Zerglings, Speedlings, and Hydras. So here we go. Cheetah going to be moving in, sees all these things, and going to try to micro and kite with his stalkers as much as possible. Looking at the unit count, we have 18 stalkers out on the field right now. These spine crawlers do have bonus damage to the armor. They take off 30 per shot on an armored unit, so running in there too close might get him in trouble. Right now the Zergling's trying to go for some search around, but chitaPrime just kind of blinking his stalkers really well and just trying to avoid that damage and just poking. He just wants to keep poking in at these spine crawlers as much as possible. Checking the unit count right now, up to 26. If we look at the economy of both players, pretty even on both sides. Cheetah actually ahead in harvesters, which is kind of cool to see from a Protoss player. So looks like Gundam hasn't. Oh, he used all the drones to build these spine crawlers because he has that gold expansions. I would assume that he should be pretty fully saturated right now. There hasn't been that much action going on, but it seems like he just kind of plunked down and really wants to hold on to his side of the map. And Cheetah realizing that probably not a good idea to go against the army of spine crawlers right here. So looks like he's going to be breaking down his side of the bricks. Going to be pushing through over here as well. GundamWerRa hasn't broken these bricks, but does have his smaller army of spine crawlers there as well. And now Gundam going to be adding infestors to the mix. Going to be throwing down that fungal growth so that these stalkers cannot move. This is a lot of stalkers on the field right now. A very menacing force. I want to see Gundam kind of try to come up with some. Oh, here we go. The infestors will be great for this. Fungal growth going down. These stalkers cannot blink out. Just going to take fire and massive damage from the spine crawlers and the Hydras just firing away at them. Right now, looks like Cheetah has been pretty diligent in getting his upgrades up. Has +2 attack, +1 armor. Looking over at GundamWerRa, has not upgraded his units, so Cheetah kind of at a slight advantage right now. These stalkers, once upgraded, definitely pose a bigger threat, and going to be trying to sneak around the spine crawlers, trying to find a way. Meanwhile, the spine crawlers just running out here, digging themselves into the ground. Love the animation of these spine crawlers. They look like dogs kind of scratching themselves, getting that itch going. So a little too late, and going to be blinking over. Is going to come down here and does see the gold expansion. Gold expansion, wow, almost starting to mine out a little bit for GundamWerRa, and now Gundam needs to kind of reposition running his spine crawlers around to set up camp, and these are just going to go down a little bit too late during the beta. Spine crawlers dropped down pretty quickly, but that was one of the major timing things, which is how long spine crawlers take to plant themselves, and while they're scratching themselves, they just take 3 shots from both sides. So things not looking so great for GundamWerRa. I think relying a bit much on those very immobile spine crawlers, and so Cheetah's just gonna walk around that. He can blink in multiple directions too, and these spine crawlers without any sort of support are gonna go down pretty quick to any sort of focus fire. Looking at the units, 46 stalkers. That's it. Meanwhile, the Gundam has gotten his Ultralisk out, so we'll see whether or not these Ultralisks can get a surround. And the problem with these, problem with trying to get a surround on these blink stalkers, is they're just gonna blink right out of the way, and I think that the Ultralisks are doing a good amount of damage. That fungal growth key right now to holding those stalkers down, and this is kind of a fun match to watch. Finally, a few zealots. Other than the first zealot in the game, Cheetah decides to diversify with 4 zealots. That's right, he has 4 zealots on the field. GundamWerRa now has a pretty menacing force. Although, oh man, these ultras are falling pretty fast. And this guy out here, oh he's trying to micro because it didn't have any power. But where is that fungal growth? Does he have enough? No, I think he's trying to cast it, but this army of stalkers is just proving to be a lot to handle for GundamWerRa. Those Zerglings had better back out because they're going to get fried pretty much right away. And it looks like, well, the good news for GundamWerRa is he can just take his natural now. It doesn't really have to worry and can kind of tuck in because that natural wasn't taken earlier. Meanwhile, Cheetah is mined out of his main and going to be mining out of his natural too, so it has to make a pretty strong push right now. But these Overlords don't have a speed upgrade and will go down very quickly. Flopping down, it looks like Gundam's going to be supply blocked for a bit now, as he's going to have to try to research that. Looking at the Incon tab, both players still somewhat even. It looks like Cheetah is ahead because too many of those drones were converted into these spine crawlers right now. And right now it just looks like Cheetah has too many stalkers out on the field. Gundam does not have a response. Looking at the army count, Cheetah is significantly ahead. Almost all of that army is stalker and probes. So one of the things about Starcraft 2, I think, is that you shouldn't normally try to mass a single unit like this. You're very prone to kind of the counter units, but a lot of this blink action and that macro and control by Cheetah is just posing a huge problem right now for GundamWerRa. I'd like to see potential, and it's probably very difficult to kind of change at this point, but you know, I'd love to see some. He has 0 detection, and GundamWerRa has to call game too. But you know, some burrowed banelings popping up and just exploding in the middle of everything would have been fun to see as well. But a very fun game from the Korean servers, chitaPrime, showing that, hey, maybe you can just mass up stalkers and do some very heavy damage if you want to blink them like crazy. So this has been another shoutcast by JCS Starcraft, and I am signing off.